Do you feel like any healthy habits you have go out the window when you're traveling? Well, today's episode is for you if that's how you feel, because my guest is going to give you simple, doable, practical tips for staying healthy and having some healthy habits while on the road. Today's episode is not going to talk about New Year's resolutions or denying yourself food or massive workout routine. So, none of that today. Jenn, what is the biggest mistake you hear when it comes to people talking about health around New Year's?
I think one of the biggest mistakes is, and I'm guilty of this myself, is going from 0 to 100. We think that, you know, maybe you're coming from a place where you really haven't moved your body, you really haven't exercised, you haven't put any thought to nutrition. And then all of a sudden it's January 1st and you're going to go to the gym every day and you're going to do an hour of cardio and you're going to, eat low calorie and stay away from all your favorite foods. And when we do that, it's not realistic and it's not sustainable or enjoyable.
Those of you who are new to Inspired Travels with Patty, I'm Patty Hunt, and I created this channel to inspire you to live life more fully. For me, that is through travel, and travel could be close to home, around the world. For me, it's about the people you meet, the places you see, and the experiences you have. And today, I'm so glad to have Jenn on because so many people struggle with trying to keep or have healthy habits while traveling. We want to go out, we want to enjoy the foods, the new foods we are surrounded by, and just make travel easier. And so I know Jenn's going to provide a lot of great tips for us today. So, just to give a little background about Jenn, Jenn Leffler is the founder of True Health for You, a holistic health mentor, mostly for women, but today's tips will apply to everyone. She helps people deal with things like stubborn weight gain, physical pain, and chronic exhaustion. I could totally relate. Welcome, Jenn, to Inspire Travels with Patty.
Hi, thank you for having me.
I'm so glad you're here. Let's start with you. Let's talk about a little bit about you and why is helping people with better health so important for you?
It's important to me because I come from a background of being in pain, dealing with hormonal imbalances, feeling like I was sick, low energy all the time. And that's because I definitely came from a place of comparing myself to others, thinking I had to look a certain way, be able to fit in a certain size. And I was so desperate to fit in that it forced me into really low calorie diets, extreme fasting, skipping meals, running 2 hours a day, to the point that it created really severe pain in my feet. And if I even thought about losing weight, I would gain 5 pounds.
You know the feeling.
And I was losing my hair. I was balding on top. I mean, it was like I was a mess. And I didn't know what the cause was. And at that point, I was miserable. And so from there, it led me down a road to really learning what our body really needs to heal and to be healthy. And then that led me down. I was like, I love this. I was able to heal my issues. And I was like, I want to do this and help others.
And that's awesome. And just so people know our background, we've known each other for going on 7 years, I want to
That's
say.
wild. Mm-hmm.
It's been a while. And for me, the whole idea of health meant denying myself all kinds of food, denying myself, anything. I mean, I love food and I
Yeah.
wanted to be able to enjoy it, not count every calorie, not worry about, oh, is this okay to eat or not okay? And for me, health meant being in a gym and just beating myself up and beating my body up. And none of that sounded appealing to me.
Yeah.
The other thing that was really important was when we met, I know I've really pushed you because I was like, oh, you're just like, honestly, you're just like a lot of the other people out there. You're going to tell me what not to do, what not to eat, how much I needed to work out. And that all was just stressful and not pleasant at all, especially the thought of, taking away my cappuccino every morning. That was just a no way, hard limit, absolutely not. But luckily, I stuck around and we got to know each other, and you've really helped me with a lot of major medical issues. Like I had severe migraines that you really help with. So I just,
Mm.
want people to know our background. So let's jump into, we went, big picture there. Let's jump in and give people who are listening, who are travelers, a tip on something they could do to make travel easier. We've already established, you don't have to cut everything out. You don't have to fast, all of that stuff. But what is something they could do while traveling to be healthier?
I know for me, when I travel, it can be a challenge, but I feel the most important is to eat consistently. Don't skip meals. Usually, we're very stimulated when we're traveling, whether you're driving, flying, wherever you're going. We're so focused on making, the destination, getting to the airport on time or whatever, that we'll skip meals. And that will actually create more stress in our bodies. And so you might feel the fatigue more. You might get the headaches, the neck pain, and so if you can just have snacks, if you're at an airport grabbing that like cheese and fruit, or the granola bar, or whatever it is, but have snacks. I always grab, that's the first thing my family knows. I hit the airport, I get past security, and I go, I got to get my snacks. And I think if you can just consistently fuel your body, that's the first step.
That was a tough one for me because I had always been really thin, like underweight thin. And people, look at that and think, oh, that's healthy. But it wasn't. For me, I was always sick. And so that was one thing that was kind of difficult, as I got older and I started gaining weight.
Mhm.
But I would deny myself. Like if I could wait 3 hours before I ate, and if I didn't eat as much, and I
Right.
found that, that was tough. And when you started to say, no, you need to eat more and you need snacks, I will tell you, I don't get in a car or get to the airport without having like I buy the snacks before I go.
Yes.
I
Yes.
it's like, okay. And here's the funny thing. I travel with people and, I go to events and I have to be checking when are we going to be eating? Because if
Yes.
not, I'm going to have a snack. I'm going to eat something. And it has made a huge difference for me. It is when I get working, like a lot of us do, or like you say, traveling, and all of a sudden it's 2, 3 hours. And now I don't feel well. Like I'm ready to crash. I don't feel well. So
Yeah.
yeah, the snacks are a great tip. So
Yeah, it's oh, go ahead, sorry.
no, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, when we're traveling, we make such a point to make sure that the car or the RV has the gas, the gasoline. It has all the fuel it needs, but then we deny ourselves. And we're just as important. Our body is an engine, we care about the airplane having fuel, we're okay with taking the time for the airplane to get its fuel. We're the same way. So if you think of it that way, I feel like people will lose the guilt or the weirdness around feeding themselves.
And I think that's a big part of it. It's let's call it mindset
Mhm.
because, when you talked about the snacks and making sure I was fueled, my thought was, but I'm just sitting in an office working. Like I
Mhm.
was literally, when we met, sitting in a house and working mostly on a computer. I wasn't doing a lot of physical, what I thought of as physical activity. So for
Right.
me, that was, again, the big misconceptions I think that people have. That was a huge one. What do you mean I need to fuel? I'm just sitting here.
Yeah.
And so that was a big one, even though I was just sitting like somebody sitting in an RV. I'm just a passenger in the RV. I wasn't doing much, or I'm sitting on an airplane, just
Yeah.
letting everybody else handle stuff.
Right. Right.
So that's the big thing. You're still saying, yes, but we need to be fueled,
Yeah,
right?
because think of all the stimulation. Even if you're sitting at home at an office working, you're on the computer, you're constantly thinking. If we're traveling, we're dealing with traffic, we're dealing with family. We're like, oh my God, did I forget my passport? It's like the stress of traveling, and you're burning through calories faster than you think.
Right. And that's not something I think most people think of, right? That's not a
Right.
big. So this is a mindset shift.
Yeah.
Yeah, mindset shift, right? So how much of mindset is a big part of health of what we're talking about?
I really believe that 80% of the work involved in healing our bodies is our mindset. And I really believe like 10 to 20% is strategy, meaning workouts, meal plans. It's really our beliefs, our thoughts, our feelings towards expressing our needs, being able to create boundaries, loving ourselves. It's huge.
And I guess that makes sense. So whether I was flying somewhere or now do long car rides, like 5, 6 hours, or, when I was traveling in an RV, I like what you said about, involve everybody, let everybody know, set my boundaries, make it clear. I no longer travel with somebody who doesn't understand that I need to
To
eat
eat.
on a regular basis. Like,
Yeah.
they don't have to be big major meals.
Yeah.
I bring snacks, but if we're going into 2.5, 3 hours, we need to stop for food. So we need to plan that.
Yeah.
And while we're laughing and kind of joking about it, it was hard for me at first to say that to somebody because there is a lot of, we'll get into the feelings, the guilt, a little bit of shame. I don't feel like I'm at my ideal weight.
Mhm.
And that is, you know, whatever the feelings are around that. We could talk a lot about that, but that
Well,
also,
being in the group and saying, I need to eat. And if you're feeling insecure, you're like, I'm just bringing attention to the fact that I'm the one eating. That's the last thing we want to do.
right.
But it's the most important thing that you have to do in order for your body to feel safe enough to lose the weight. You got to have fuel. So, but I get it.
Right. And so I guess that'd be another great tip for people who are traveling with a group of people, with a spouse or partner, with their family, whoever they're traveling with. It seems like it'd be a good idea for those people to know. And that's something that I've had to overcome and be okay with. Like, if you're going to travel with me, this is the situation,
We gotta
I'm
we
going
gotta
to
find a
bring
gas
snacks.
station. We gotta find a
Yeah,
gas station.
right. Right. And so um, I think that's a big one for people because, if you're not feeling well, then doesn't make for a great travel day.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And it's like my husband and I, we're going to be going to Iceland in a few months, and we're planning, okay, we arrive at 6 in the morning. What's open? Where do we get breakfast? And Iceland isn't a place where they're really big breakfast people. And so I'm having to do that search like, okay, what snacks do I need to have? What's going to be open? Where can I get, the type of food I want to eat? So, um, I'm doing it as well. I get it.
Mhm. And I actually had somebody on. She is a mom, travels with her 3 young kids, and one of her kids is on the spectrum. So finding foods, and they travel internationally. So finding foods that her daughter will eat
Right.
because foods are a big trigger for her daughter. She even knows things that she packs in her suitcase that she checks, that she then has certain things specifically for her daughter.
Yes.
And if I were going somewhere that I wasn't sure that I would be okay with the food, I eat pretty much anything. But if I weren't sure I'd be able to find foods, then I would probably pack more of them.
Yeah.
Just again, it's about mindset. It's about being conscious of what we need and talking about it.
Hmm. Yeah.
What's another tip you can offer people? You're saying fuel. I think that's a big one for people to be able to wrap their head around. We're talking about mindset. How much does habit then play into some of these things?
Huge, because if it's a pattern to skip meals, your brain just goes, okay, we just don't eat, right? So now you have to start creating the pattern of eating something, even if it's just a little glass of juice or having like a little piece of fruit or maybe some fruit and cheese. Um, but start thinking, okay, start actually gaining awareness of the habits. And so it's like, okay, if Jen's saying I need to eat more, but I'm skipping this meal, let me just start like in the morning having a piece of fruit or a piece of toast.
And so for people who are making a shift from being in the house, they have the foods they want and need, whether they're you know, eating or not eating in between and now transitioning into that travel. Is there something, and again, I always do, I'm putting you on the spot, but I'm trying to think like being in the RV, because we lived in the RV, I was able to have certain foods. And you could actually have more food and be more prepared than a lot of people would think. Are there certain things that are easy to have or grab and go? I know for me, I travel with a friend that could just grab a protein bar and, you
That's
know,
it.
he's good to go for hours. I can't eat them because they have soy in them, they upset my stomach. I would love that quick fix.
Yeah.
You have some things that are quick
Yeah.
go to.
Regarding like foods that you have like on your person, I think pretzels are wonderful. Cheese, grapes are really easy because you can, it's like, it's not messy. Finger foods, um, beef jerky. I think if you want to go out to certain places, coffee shops will always have like a little protein plate. They'll have like a hard boiled egg and cheese and fruit. And then, and honestly, doing like a latte, having like the milk you'll get, and then having some sugar in there, you'll have the carbs, protein, and fat. Um, Smoothies, things like that. But really, my go to is always like pretzels, uh, fruit, and cheese.
And I know for different people, there are different things. There are some people that are absolutely no sugar. There are some people that never have juice. There are
Mhm.
certain things for certain people. We're not going to dive really far into that right now because that is a big, deep dive. And what I'm going to do is recommend that anybody that wants to challenge you on some of the things you said or wants more information, they can reach out to you.
That'd be great.
Yeah, because there are different foods. For me, what I liked about, us working together is the fact that you took what worked for my body. So I always had a cup of coffee in the morning. And just as an example, I would have a cup of coffee in the morning. I'll be honest, it had a lot of sugar, very little milk, coffee with a little bit of milk, lots of sugar. And that's what I had every morning. Come the weekend, if I would sleep in, I would get a migraine. And I was told, oh, caffeine was the trigger. Caffeine was the problem. And when I started working with you, and now my coffee consists of, I mean, it's a cappuccino, it's a mocha. So it's cappuccino with chocolate for people who don't know, but it's also loaded with protein. So it's, a
It's a
complete,
meal.
it's a meal. And I do not get migraines anymore. It does not cause any the only problem it causes if I wait too long
Long
to have it. That's when we have a problem.
problem.
But that works for me and my body. That may not
Yeah.
work for somebody else. So I just want that to be clear. Find things that work for you. I find that I need more protein, and the beef jerky is a good way. Cheese is a good way to have it, but also having some carbs to balance it out. That works for
Right.
me. That works for my body. And for people who are traveling, they're easy things. You could get a beef stick that's
Yeah.
easy to take with, and cheese, crackers, and all these things. For domestic flights, you can take through the airport. If you're going internationally, some of these things you might need to eat before you arrive, or you're going to be throwing them away. So you need to check on those. All right. What about exercise? People are traveling. They may be on an exercise program. What do you suggest for people who are traveling and talking about exercise?
So usually traveling, like people are going to be walking. So you're going to get like really good amount of steps in if that's something that you're monitoring. But just walking is really good. I think if you're someone who goes to the gym and you're not going to have access to a gym, it's called, this method is called greasing the groove. And what that means is, like, let's say you're like, okay, I'm going to make it a goal to do 30 push-ups in one day. Throughout this whole day, my goal is to get at least 30 push-ups. And so maybe you do 5 push-ups when you wake up, and then maybe an hour later, you're going to do 6. And then you just, when you can, you're just going to stop what you're doing and do push-ups until at the end of the day, you've done whatever goal you set out. You've done 30. You can do that with squats. You know what I mean? Of course, if you're at a place that has a gym, you can always say, you know what, I'm just going to do like a 15, 20-minute workout. Some of my clients like to travel with resistance bands. And right on YouTube, there is fantastic little travel 15, 20-minute workouts with resistance bands. And it doesn't take up a lot of space. You can do that right there in the hotel room or the RV. So you can always just make it simple. But I think the most important thing is don't feel like you have to, go to that 0 to 100. Like maybe you just find 15% or 20% and be happy with that. Be proud that you're, being aware of movement while you're still on travel.
And again, it comes back to creating habits and the mindset of it. Just I didn't think as much about, and this changed when we spoke, when I was, in the RV traveling and then walking around a campground, sometimes 2+ miles,
Right.
or going in the pool. When we met, I had a pool in the backyard, and swimming, and we were like, that's exercise, that's movement. Do increase it, do more of it, as you go along. But I was like, okay, so I am doing it. And again, that comes down to mindset.
Yeah, just and also and being okay with doing what you love. Like maybe you're not a gym person. You can totally lose weight without having to become a gym rat. Just like what you said, you wanted to swim. Fantastic. And then that's what makes creating a healthy lifestyle sustainable. You're doing the movement you love, and being okay with shifting. I know there's a lot of pressure to, be consistent and you have to, no, 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 no. Like listen to what your body is saying. Maybe you want to swim this week, but then the next week you want to hike. That's absolutely okay. And that's how you stay consistent with your routine because you're doing stuff that you really enjoy.
It goes back to me sitting there, going into a restaurant, not wanting to count calories, not
Yeah.
wanting to be so focused. Listen, I want to go travel the world. When I go to Italy, I'm eating pasta.
Oh, yeah. There is no calorie counting in Italy. Yes. You're living your dream. Yeah.
And I think there's a lot to be said for the feeling that you have, the emotion that you have going into it. If I'm
Yeah.
eating that cheeseburger that I ate this afternoon, total transparency, if I'm eating that thinking, oh, I screwed up, now I have to starve for the rest of the day, that's got to do more damage to my body than the fact that I ate it and maybe I choose something different tonight.
100%. I know I've experienced this. I know my clients have, where they've gone to places like Italy or they've been on the beach all day and they're, drinking Mai Tais and eating whatever. And they're like, Jen, I came back and either they've lost weight or they maintained. And that's the power of when we are truly in the moment enjoying life. I mean, this is why Europe, most people, they look fantastic. They're getting plenty of sunlight. They're walking around, right? They walk everywhere and they're eating delicious foods and they're savoring the moment. There's so much power and potency and joy. And like you said, not beating ourselves up because we had that cheeseburger. Like, eat the cheeseburger and laugh, have good conversations, enjoy your vacation. The inflammation that you will either lose or will not be produced just because you're happy, it's a huge statistic, like huge.
Because a lot of that in retraining my belief system and rethinking things, in looking at statistics and things that you showed me, you know, there is plenty of research, plenty of statistics out there. If you're stressed about eating that meal, there are hormones that are created in our
Yeah,
body. And again, this is something that you could talk about for hours. We don't have time for that. I just wanted to bring that up because there is scientific studies around this. And again, not everything works for everybody. You're not a medical doctor.
yeah.
With medical issues should contact a doctor, certainly before they make major changes in their food or exercise. Just a little disclaimer there. But there is so much more information. And I just want to recap and lead people to some of the things that you offer that are free. So just recap. Forget the New Year's resolutions.
Mhm.
Take little small steps. That's kind of what I heard and what you helped me with. If I could take a couple of steps and feel good about that, that leads to bigger steps, the mindset shift, the habit, the change in habit to make sure you have the fuel. So however, whatever kind of snacks you want, be prepared, have the fuel. Again, whatever works for your body. You gave a lot of great suggestions. Sunlight, walking, swimming, these are all forms of exercise. If you feel like you do want to tone or lose weight, I would imagine you suggest people do a little more. If you
Yeah.
walk a mile, do a little more and increase that. So, for anybody who wants to find out more, Jenn has a lot of free online information. One of them, and I'm going to put all of this in the show notes. I know a lot of people are listening on the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, it'll also be in the notes. But one of the things she has is letting go, and that is a free training. And it says healing doesn't happen by pushing harder. It happens when you stop carrying what was never meant to be yours. She also has a free symptom decoder. And this was huge for me. We did not talk about a lot of that, but the fact that I was having migraines, why, where were they coming from? I went to neurologists, all different types of doctors, chiropractors, you name it, suffered with migraines from the time literally I was in sixth grade.
Mm.
Stress maybe related a little bit there. I have thankfully been migraine free. I've had a couple little migraines that because of, things you've suggested for me, I could get rid of them very quickly. And it's been close to 7 years. No
That's awesome.
medications. Yeah, no medication. It's not like it doesn't happen, but I do notice and I am aware of the fact that it is often around stressful situations. Imagine that. So you have a lot of free information. They can connect with you on social media. People could also connect on email, and that is whether or not they want to disagree with you, they could do that.
Yes.
So you're more than welcome to take questions, concerns, disagreements, and I will put the email. It's Jennifer at truehealth4you.com, and that is number 4. I'll put all of this in the show notes. Jenn will also do a free consultation. So anyone who, just says, hey, I want to be healthier or is struggling with a health issue can reach out and have a free consultation. Well, a lot of information, and I feel like we left so much that we could have covered, but
Yeah.
hopefully we gave some great tips. Before I close out, is there anything you want to say that I may not have asked or covered?
No, just putting more emphasis on, just enjoy yourself when you're on vacation. If you've got some travels and let's say, nutrition wasn't the best, meaning maybe you weren't able to be consistent, just remember that being happy and enjoying the time is just as powerful for healing your body or just maintaining a healthy body.
That is great. Happiness, that's number
Happiness,
one.
yeah.
I love that. I love that. Anybody who wants to reach out to Jenn, again, I'll have all her information. If you have questions for me, I am on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Inspired Travels with Patty. I would love to hear your comments. If this resonated, please share it. If you're listening on the podcast, you could watch it on YouTube or vice versa. Thank you, Jenn, so much for being on. I greatly appreciate it. And I always gain something new every time we talk.
Oh, good, good. Thank you for having me. This was fun.
Always fun having you on. I want to leave people with this one last thought. Travel isn't just about where you go, it's about how you live. And I want to remind you to live life to the fullest every day.